afternoon.
Hello.
So I don't mean to be rude, but I've never used Lulu. But like about 50% of the audience here, I'm not allowed to. So I'd love you to tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, actually, you would get a note that would say, "Dude, you're a dude." So that means we'd be working on it. Yeah. So essentially, Lulu, we are a female-only network, and we're built on the idea that women need a safe and private place to share knowledge together. And so the vision that I have for the company is to create a place where we capture, classify, and make searchable conversations that women have when they're just together with their girlfriends. So I took inspiration from my own experience and built that.
So practically speaking, you log into the app, you log in through Facebook.
Yep.
It sees whether you're a man or a woman. If you're a man, it's kind of like, sorry. If you're a woman, you can go in and actually rate your experience with men within your social network.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we're quite often described as a dating application, and it's simply quite not true. I mean, we are a dating tool, a dating compass, if you will, in its current iteration, but the idea for the company is much bigger. Essentially what we're aiming to do is to focus on multiple different verticals, not just relationships, but also about health, about beauty, a variety of things that women care and talk about together. So in its current iteration, it is around relationships and around guys. And so girls can review a guy that they know, and they essentially say their relationship to him, a friend, an ex, a relative, and they get a series of multiple choice questions that they can answer, and that generates a score. There's hashtags to select. So often we're compared to Yelp as sort of the Yelp for guys, and in fact, it's not quite true. Because you can't write whatever you want, right? So we took a lot of inspiration from the Cosmo quiz and actually created really fun questions that generate a response and an answer.
So if there's one question on everybody's mind here, I think I can speak for all of us when I ask, what's my score personally?
You'll have to ask a girlfriend.
What I think is fascinating is that while your app, I think, has been controversial, at least a little bit, it's talking to you. It's actually modeled after not the idea that genders are exactly the same, which I think is a popular idea, and I think it's a somewhat needed idea within technology right now to get women more involved in STEM. But your app is designed for the opposite idea, that genders are inherently a little bit different, and I'd love you to talk about that a little bit.
No, absolutely. I mean, it kind of even came from the origination of my idea. I built Lulu and created Lulu for a genuine need that myself and my girlfriends had. And I really felt that this was the right company for me to build because of that. I innately understood the need as a user and then could be the creator to think about it. So we think about creating the product very much from our own experiences as women, and have taken that approach in building out Lulu.
You'd mentioned women's brunches.
Yeah.
And how there's a lot of influence there. Mm-hmm. As a guy, I'm not super familiar with it, but you said that as soon as a man's in the mix, it sort of changes the conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that most women in the audience will have had the experience of getting together with your girlfriends and sharing really personal and intimate details about your experiences, whether it's in your relationships or with products or things. And the types of things that you'd share would be very different if a guy were to join that conversation or be at that table. And really, that's where the real value lies. It lies in the minutia of those conversations. And so, what if we could capture that information and make accessible to all women? And that's really kind of the goal, and we think that's very important.
It's minutia, but I feel like it's more than that. I feel like you're really after an honesty and an earnestness that may be lacking.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's that intricate detail that is so valuable because it is so honest and because you feel so free to share in that type of environment. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're really trying to recreate. And starting with relationships, starting with guys, starting with the sex, it's a very delicate topic, right? And at Lulu, when we chose to start here rather than starting with, eye makeup or beauty products, it was a leap that, well, A, the market needed it, right? Especially with a lot of online dating, not necessarily knowing who you're meeting on these platforms. But B, if we could build the trust with this female audience on a very sensitive topic, and we've proven that we can with over 1 million users in 8 months, then that can allow us to take that trust and confidence into multiple verticals, which is where Lulu will go.
So you aimed high rather than low.
Yeah, I would say.
What's interesting to me is if you launched just rating women's like beauty products, I wonder if you would have this adoption at all.
It's a great question. I mean, I think we took a very confident bet that this would be a very controversial area to start with, but there was a genuine need. Often people say, well, it's very provocative, and I say, well, if you're getting references in the world on jobs and people want to know, okay, let's do a search on this person before we hire them, then for a woman, why not search about a guy that you're thinking about getting in bed with, right? I think it's equally as important.
Equally, if not more? I don't know. Something else I found interesting was this idea that you'd mentioned there are some men who are probably put off by the product because they can't listen in. But you said that men actually drive adoption for women to use the app, to share the app, and show them the app.
Yes, they do. And I'm sure many men, after I speak, will ask their female colleagues near them to see if they're on Lulu. Yeah, it really kind of goes to the question is, am I being spoken about, right? So a lot of guys will run up, and we launched in colleges in the US, that's how we started in February. And a lot of guys were running up to girls saying, can you see if I'm on Lulu? And they check, and if they're not there, they're, oh, that's great, but actually they kind of secretly wish that they were on there and be spoken about by girls. And so we kind of decided that, since guys can't get into Lulu and they're not part of this conversation because it's been built for women, that we would give them a sort of an avenue, because we'd had hundreds of thousands of guys that we'd been rejecting, that we'd give them a place where they could go and really kind of change their picture, remove themselves from Lulu if they didn't want to be there, period. Or add some hashtags about themselves and participate in the conversation. So, and also kind of use it as a viral tool to get other girls to get on the platform where they could say, hey, review me on Lulu. And over 500,000 requests for reviews have been sent by guys in the last 5 months since we released that.
So a market that can't use your product is driving adoption of your product.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to that sense of exclusivity, right? A lot of people said, oh, well, when you launch it should be invite only. And we're like, well, it kind of is very exclusive, right? It's just for women. And that has been a big part of the kind of growth and excitement about Lulu that has just been growing like wildfire on college campuses. And a lot of it's driven by guys, because women use it very privately. They use it quite secretly amongst themselves and in their own circles. But it's the guys that run around.
Are you worried about seeming superficial as you move from relationships and sex, which are obviously really important to people, to consumer products?
Superficial how? No, I mean, look, I think you answered it. Relationships and sex are really important to people, right? They're really important to women, and we address it in a way that's very real and tangible within Lulu. It's been a lot of it. Part of our design has been focused on the copywriting. We speak to our audience in the way that they speak to each other. So it's not, an app and a platform. Lulu is that sort of extra girlfriend in your pocket. And so, no, I don't think it's superficial at all. I think it's very important. I think all these topics are very important. And I think moving into another vertical like beauty, for example, is equally as important, right? As we think about these relationships with partners, we want to look and feel our best. And we're looking at products and for hair and face and other things to kind of engage in that experience. And that's very important to women.
Will you ever let men on Lulu?
No.
I think there's a valid reason, right? Because as soon as you let one man into the room, right, it changes the conversation, like you said.
Absolutely.
Is there an opportunity for a Lulu for men, or is that just sort of what Twitter is and Reddit?
Well, I personally will not be creating that. I come at it from a very genuine place, that I'm creating this product for women being one. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what men would like. So there won't be one created by me, but I think there's certainly an opportunity should a guy want to create his version of Lulu. I just don't think you guys talk in quite the same way we do.
I'll take that as a compliment. One thing, we're almost out of time, but I do want to dig a hole out of, was that your growth has been largely on college campuses, and that's a story we hear about in startups a lot. Like we've heard about, like, that's how Facebook grew. That's how you have to grow. How have you broken into that market? Is there any tip you could share?
So it sounds a lot easier than it is, right? It's tricky. College students have a lot of things going around. There's, their attention span is really limited. They've got, their studies, sort of, and their friends, and products and services and new apps, and so they're a very difficult audience to catch and grab their attention. For us, the choice to go into colleges was simple. I was looking for a place to start where there was lots of groups of girls, and the US has sororities in these colleges, unlike any other country in the world where you get 10 sororities in one college. Each sorority has like 200 girls. So it was a great starting point for me. But beyond just the marketing element, it also allowed me to learn from this audience as we were marketing to them. So that tight feedback loop of product iteration came from that group. And they helped us build and figure out how to build the best product for them.
Love it. Alexandra, we're out of time. Thank you so much. And I will send you my email if you want to make an exception. If you just need one beta tester or something, we can do that.
Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.